Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jamie, and in this series I talk about starting ballet as an adult. I am 32 years old and I have now taken 4 classes beginning ballet. And as a pole dancer, I share my experience learning the techniques behind ballet. So I had to take a couple weeks off because I got sick, but happy to be back resuming with my classes in ballet. And this last class that I took was actually a mixed levels class. It was all levels. And I didn't want to take an all levels class, but sometimes the availability of classes combined with my schedule, it's just the only one that I could get to. And I had asked the teacher that was teaching my intro class prior if I would do okay in that kind of class. And she's like, oh yeah, it's really casual, all levels come, but they kind of cater the class to you and you can modify or whatever. And so I was like, whatever. I do the same thing as an instructor. I'm like, yeah, this is heels 1, but if you're just getting into heels or you've been in heels for a long time, I'll find modifications for you. So I thought, I'll just try it. So I did it, and it definitely was a bit more advanced than I was comfortable with, but it was really good to see people that were better than me doing the movements. I am very much a monkey see, monkey do type learner. So I need to see people doing it right so that I know how to fix myself and what it's actually supposed to look like. And a lot of times in these intro classes, everyone's, your level or below or maybe above, but they're not the greatest dancers yet. So I think being able to just study the person in front of me who's been a ballet dancer for a longer time and seeing how they do the movement was extremely useful for me. So I think I'm actually going to go to more mixed levels classes. I'm still going to go to the intro ones, but I think I'll get a lot out of just being in the all levels class and watching those around me. Something that has surprised me as being very difficult for me is spotting, because in pole, I'm always teaching about spotting. We do so many turns and pirouettes, but in ballet, when you don't have a pole, or I guess this applies more for center work where you're not holding on to the bar in ballet, I feel very much lost. I feel my balance gets lost all the time. Towards the end of class, we do these floor drills where we move across the floor. And in this last class that we did, we were learning about how to do a chaîné. And that was my first time doing that. It seemed so simple when I watched them. And I was like, yeah, I got this. And then when I started going, I could not hold my balance. Part of me was looking at the dancer in front of me to see what they were doing. Part of me was looking at the mirror to see how I was doing. And then by the time I could do a turn, it was already too late and I was fumbling and losing my balance. And then I was looking at the teacher help me. I just could not do it. So I took that and I went back to the pole studio, and in my warm-ups, I've kind of started to practice it a little bit on my own so that I can just process what's going on, because something that seems so basic, I just don't get how it can be so hard. The waltz is still a struggle for me. I feel like that's another thing I expected myself to pick up better than I did. It's just a simple dance. It's a very well-known dance, and I didn't actually know that it was taught in ballet, but it is. And that's another thing that I was struggling with because of the change in your center of gravity, going on your toes and then coming off and then shifting your weight. Ballet is just one big lesson in shifting your weight that I didn't expect it to be. Another thing that happened to me in this class was that my inner hip muscles were flaring up. This started happening to me when I first started taking these intro classes. I did twice a week for 2 weeks, I think. Or maybe it was the third class. I started getting some really deep hip pain. The areas where you're doing external rotation at your hip, I knew exactly where I felt it. I think it was my piriformis, but I could pinpoint it very specifically. And I think it was just from turning out so much. And also the combination of me thinking I had to force myself to turn out more because I didn't have the flexibility to just do it naturally like the people in front of me I was looking at. I thought in ballet I had to turn my feet out a certain amount, but you're only supposed to go according to how much natural turnout you have. And apparently I don't have a lot. So I'm not happy about that, but it's something that I hope will improve over time. By forcing myself to turn out too much, I was creating a bad pattern, which caused some hip pain. So even after taking some time off, going back into my first class recently, I felt that pain right away, and it concerns me because I want to continue taking classes, but I also don't want to get injured. And I know, well, I found out that ballet is not exactly like natural for your body. I thought it was like, to me, I'm thinking like yoga, ballet, like alignment, everything's focused on alignment. It must be good for your body. But a lot of people have said, otherwise. So I am still going to continue to do it, but I'm going to definitely be aware of like how my body's responding and going at the right pace for me. Because I don't want to get injured. I still want to be able to pole dance, and I don't want this side venture to actually make it so that I can train less. A natural habit that I've noticed in myself is that I tend to sink into my hips a lot. This could also be what is causing me pain. The teachers have made corrections to me to kind of lift up and out of my hips when I'm in standing positions on one leg. And I find that very hard. It's so funny to me how it can feel so fine when you're holding a pole and you're on like an 8-inch heel, but then when you're on your toes in ballet holding a bar, I don't know, maybe the compensations aren't as apparent in pole, but I felt like my technique was just not happening in ballet. I'm comparing a lot of similar positions like arabesque and ballet to pole. They are similar and different at the same time, but I can see how like getting better at the one in ballet will help me on the pole. One thing that I actually really enjoy in ballet is the jumping part. Like we will, towards the end of class, do all these jumping drills where we're pointing our toes, catching ourselves on our feet and like sticking that position. I think I have pretty strong legs, so I feel good at a certain part of that exercise. I still find it very difficult, and I recognize it as being difficult for everyone. Everyone's like huffing and puffing after, but it makes me feel really strong. Like I can feel my quads engaging. I like how it forces you to think about your arms when your legs are doing something so difficult, like really tuning into the technique of your arms and keeping them light and like flowy versus tightening up as if you're doing like a conventional squat exercise, like a jumping squat. So I'm going to continue practicing that on my own time. I also practiced frappes for the first time. I think that means to strike the floor. And I appreciate in ballet how you soften your foot and then point it. Like the control that you need to do these things right is different, because I feel that when I'm doing pole dancing, I'm constantly trying to maintain a point or maintain a flex, but it's not much in between. But essentially with ballet, you're having like full control of all the muscles in your feet. And I think the body awareness is really good because you just don't usually pay attention so much to your foot. And I can see why ballet dancers, like why you get to eventually do point work, and just the strength in your feet for that, I cannot even imagine. But I can for sure see the translation to pole, and it makes sense why the pole dancers that I admire so much have been previously ballet dancers, because their feet are so strong and their heel work is in turn like amazing because they know how to engage it so well. I am still struggling to stand on one foot in like the end position of many drills. So just waiting for my ankle strength and calf strength to catch up so that I can do these things. It's weird because I feel very strong, but then when I look around, I'm like, how come I'm the only one struggling in this? And I regularly practice being on, the balls of my feet. I don't know, but it's an interesting observation. So that's all I have for today. Just kind of a journal dump of things that I experienced in my most recent class. I'll continue taking ballet classes and let you know how they go. Thanks.